Hi, and welcome to my multimedia montage project. You'll see you received an email. This is to invite you to my course. My course is focusing on how college instructors are continually faced with the challenge of teaching their students to link theory to practice. As research has demonstrated, while these teachers are learner-centered in their philosophy, they're often teacher-centered in their actual approach. Despite empirical evidence of the importance of learner-centered instructional practices within undergraduate classrooms, many programs fail to develop and implement evidence-based teaching practices to foster student learning. So here is my course. Welcome. The vision stated here. This is aimed for a college instructor to navigate a way to teach students how to engage in problem-based learning while fostering socially shared regulation and self-regulation. The design is intended for students enrolled in a 3-credit course entitled Educational Psychology, Principles of Classroom Learning. The course is taught at Rutgers in the fall and spring semester. There are several sessions offered throughout both semesters. The purpose of the course is to introduce these students to the various psychological theories and principles related to education. In doing so, it exposes these students to practices used in education today. Throughout the site, you can see the initial design proposal. You could see my storyboard. You can see my inspiration of the original research project that was developed that I had helped collect data for that I'm going to be building off of. You can see a user guide for instructors and a user guide for students as well. So I'm going to take you through everything. First and foremost, I have my references cited for this entire project, the long list. These references support the design I've developed on problem-based learning, socially shared regulation, concept maps, and the theoretical frameworks that will be explained. So one undertaught professional 21st century skill is collaborative learning. Collaborative learning designs have been used to help build highly relevant professional skills, but achieving these coordination between the group members isn't always easy. Each group member is a self-regulating agent with unique goals, cognitions, emotions, and challenges related to motivation, which is why it's difficult to ensure that these students get on the right path when working together, which also makes this an important skill to teach these students. So, it's important to explicitly teach these students how to work together. So in doing so, I've incorporated concept mapping within my design. As you'll see here. Step 2, design and implementation. Obviously, this is an important component of the ADDIE model in general. So the implementation, this is going to take place in a higher education interdisciplinary unit. Specifically, this design is set up so it's a 2-week instructional model built within an overall course that lasts over an entire semester in the fall or the spring. The overall course goals are attached. However, I've also included specific goals and objectives for this unit. The learning tools that I'm going to be using are Concept Map. To do so, I'm going to teach students how to use Draw.io, which was formerly known as Diagramling. This is a web-based forum where students can develop various diagrams, concept maps, and share them in Google Drive. Problem solutions are another tool that I'm going to be using. Students will be presented with this. The origins of the problem solutions were here. This is the initial study that was conducted by Christopher Menente, a former doctoral student here at Rutgers. I helped him collect the data for the purposes of his research. However, I'm going to be modeling this study a little bit off of some of the work that he had done. And this is explained in this section, giving Christopher full credit for everything he had done. So we explain the learning goals, where you can find the learning goals, a little brief explanation of concept maps. Again, the entire course learning goals are here as an attachment on the bottom of this page. I did conduct pilot testing with some of my cohort members, 5 of them to be specific. User testing allowed my helpers to develop concept map using the Draw.io forum. I did have students work, some people work independently, which is displayed by this first concept map. Then I had some students work together, which is displayed by the bottom 2 concept maps. I did this for the purposes of this design so that I could see how groups were talking about making concept maps together. As only one person was navigating the screen, the other people would be talking to them about how to navigate and what to incorporate in the concept map. I thought this was important to user test to ensure that this forum served as an appropriate tool for this design, and it did. I did learn from the user testing that I did need to provide further instruction on how to actually use the tool. They suggested that I create kind of like a legend or like a guide for them to use, like what instruments, tools they should actually use on the forum. So that was actually pretty helpful. And I went in there not giving them much direction for the purposes of knowing what they did need, because I don't want to supply users with too much instruction on this forum because it should be pretty user-friendly. So it was good to get that feedback. I've incorporated a timeline of the entire instructional design. I'm not going to go through everything right now, but you can check it out for yourself. But it's all listed here. Days 1 through 14. My reflection isn't complete yet because I haven't finished this design, as I'm still talking right now and introducing this part. This is a section for just instructors to utilize. It just describes the importance of problem-based learning as a student-centered approach to teaching. It also describes the use of concept maps and how they can contribute to socially shared regulation and fostering that within group members, and how concept maps can serve as a scaffold for teachers to utilize when working with multiple groups at once. Often that becomes a challenging task to make sure that they're, in the know of what each group is talking about. A concept map is a visual spatial space where an instructor can just reference when they're monitoring each of the groups. This serves as a quick reference for the instructor rather than interrupting the group's discussion and the group's discourse. They can kind of reference that in order to provide the appropriate support necessary when these individuals are working together, rather than playing catch-up. So there you go. Problem-based learning in and of itself has been used in higher education and has been used successfully within higher education, which is why I thought it was important. Problem-based learning proposes authentic problems posed to students. These problems are really ill-structured. There's no actual correct solution, although the instructor does provide support to ensure that students are gaining content knowledge and, developing a sufficient plan. One with support, one with empirical evidence. So that explains this. And the authentic problems here just go in a little more in depth as to the importance of the problem being ill-defined. And we'll see that in my actual problem itself. Training 2. Reflection of the coursework. These trainings are intended for the actual students enrolled in the course. The reflections of the course, they're going to be given articles on problem-based learning, what the components are, how students engage, how the instructor changes a role from, a teacher to a facilitator, excuse me. So these articles are here for students to reference. Now, I did not post the articles here on purpose. I did want to teach students how to navigate the library resource page. So in doing so, I've developed a screencast for each one of these. The screencast here teach students how to use the search engines within the library database. So for the Savory article, for instance, here the article is from the disciplinary journal of problem-based learning. So we're going to go to Rutgers University Library website. This is the home page for that once you log in with your website. Rather than just typing the article, we're going to ask for this journal. And type in the journal name. So as you can see here, I went through various types of searches. So for the Savory article, as you just saw, I had taught students, I'm hoping to teach students how to search for a specific journal. When I asked students to retrieve the Newman article from the library database, I asked students to input the actual title. And there's a screencast for that as well. Then for the Azar article, I have students search using the author's name. Then I have them restrict the time frame by condensing that interval so that they receive less results back, so that they can find the specific article faster. So I've developed 3 screencasts so that I hope to help students navigate the library resource page. This is important for the purposes of them just being students at Rutgers University, in addition to solving the problem solution. It's good to access various resources, and being able to know how is also important. Training 3. This teaches students how to actually use the Draw.io forum, so how to make a concept map. I've developed, again, another tutorial on how to use this, providing them with a model. The model itself is going to be used for students to replicate. The reasoning for that is so that students learn how to actually navigate the system. Then I'm going to require students to develop their own concept map using the articles they've read on problem-based learning. So first, it's important for them to just get familiar with the site, its tools, and its purposes. This is what this screencast does. So that's training 3. So here we have the practice problems. This is where students are going to post their links to their practice map. They're going to post their link to their PBL individual concept map and their group practice concept map. All will go here in this forum. They're just going to post the links. For the actual problem itself, we're going to go down here a little bit more to the problem scenario. Here I pose the actual problem for students to work on. It creates targets for students so they can focus on areas so they're not totally not receiving that conceptual knowledge, but it does provide a lot of leniency. This also does require students to present an outline to a child study team, but in doing so I allow them to hope to foster some motivation by having them use whatever technological tool they would like to. I do put a restriction on the time limit of that presentation. I've incorporated resources for students so they can access these at any time they want. Not only do I provide these specific resources, but I also provide my PBL toolkit from our website. So they have a toolkit as well. Information gathering sheet. Then I also have made an information gathering sheet to help scaffold students' learning. These prompts, these questions here, are here to support students as they try and devise a solution to the problem. I've also created this whole questionnaire online so that students can submit it to me for evaluation. I've developed a student peer assessment so that students can evaluate one another. These are based off of the self-regulatory strategies. Last but not least, I've also included a student, a rubric for students for the problem solution and for the concept maps. The concept maps will be evaluated by using, students should include these key concepts and elaborate on them some. And then that's that. Thanks for coming and visiting.